Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Now in today's video, guys, I'm going to be doing a review on the new Amazon Prime series Fallout. Now before I get on to this review, I really do apologize for being quite behind on a lot of this content. I still have like 3 more movies that I am planning to see before I'm officially done with April, so it's been a very, very hefty month for movies, and it's already a busy enough month for me, so I really do apologize for that. I've been trying to watch Abigail for the past week. I am for sure going to be watching it this evening, finally, and I've been trying to do this review for the past week as well, so it's been quite annoying, so just bear with me, guys, and if you want to stay updated, make sure you guys check those community posts. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much all I got for announcements. So, getting on to this review, this is obviously the first time that I've ever done a series review, and I just had to do it because you guys know I am a huge fan of the Fallout video games. It's probably one of my favorite video game franchises of all time, and if you're an older viewer or you've been on the channel for many, many years, you might remember that years back I used to do some Fallout content. And so, yeah, it's been something that I've loved for many years now and have grown to love by playing many of the different games and whatnot. And so, obviously, I knew about a lot of the rumors of a TV show coming in the coming years. And when I saw the trailer at the ending of last year, you guys saw how hyped I was for this show and where they were going to go with it. And I still am really excited to see where they're going to continue going moving forward in the inevitable future seasons. So, super duper excited, and this may not be as long of a review as you guys might have anticipated. I know, obviously, a big fan of it, but there's only a few like main points in each of the categories: positive, mixed, negative. So this should be hopefully a quicker review, and I think that's really all I got. So moving straight on to the positives, and if you've watched other reviews, you've undoubtedly heard this 1,000 times. They remained very, very faithful to the source material in this new Fallout series, which is a big relief, not just because I'm a huge fan, but also just the fact that, as you know, many video game adaptations within the past few years, not just for shows, but for movies, have been quite disappointing. They have added new ideas or new stuff that doesn't make any sense, completely contradicts the established lore of the video games. And thankfully, in this new Fallout series, they remained very, very faithful to the source material. It is its completely new idea. It has never been, it's not canon to the video games, but it is technically canon because it takes place after all of the established video games. So, overall, besides that, they remained very, very faithful to the source material. Everything from the tone to the atmosphere to the costume designs, they all remind me of Fallout and just scream Fallout to me. When it comes to the tone, the dark humor throughout this series, very, very prevalent, and really just gave it that Fallout vibe that I really, really liked, and a lot of it was really, really good. And there's already a ton of people out there with making memes about the show and all this kind of stuff, so it's really, really great. And then the costume designs, obviously, they look really great for our 3 main characters, Maximus, the Ghoul, and the Vault Dweller, Lucy. All look really, really great. All of the different items and the buildings and everything like that just very, very closely resembles that Fallout atmosphere. So they really, really nailed it on sticking to the source material. And honestly, if the story that they went with in this new show ever did become a video game, I would be very, very excited. We've never had a Fallout game, as far as I'm concerned, where you can play multiple different main characters. So I think it would be really interesting if there was a Fallout game where it kind of is set up in a Resident Evil style, where you do one playthrough as this character and then the next playthrough as this character and all that different stuff. I think that would just be really, really interesting, having the very polar opposite characters of Lucy, the Ghoul, and Maximus. So yeah, I think that they did a really, really great job coming up with their own idea while also remaining very, very faithful to the source material. The positive that I have is I really do like our main 3 in here, all 3 with distinct personalities. Obviously, you have Lucy, who's the innocent, naive, optimistic Vault Dweller, which I think is very, very fitting. We have a lot of characters like that in the Fallout video games with their overly optimistic personality where they don't really understand how the wasteland works and operates, and so it just makes it for a lot of really, really funny kind of cute moments. So I really, really did like Ella Purnell as Lucy. I think she was the perfect pick for playing that type of character, and I think she just brought it out very, very well. And then you, of course, have Walton Goggins as the Ghoul. Really, really did enjoy him being the just badass archetype in here. You know, he's been through the wasteland for centuries now, and just very, very cool as well. Then you, of course, have Maximus, who probably my least favorite of the three personally, and I'll get more into that when we get into the other categories. But I think he did bring out some nice humor in here with this kind of socially awkward personality. And so all three of the characters I really did enjoy. I love our main three cast, and we also had a bunch of surrounding cast members too, particularly in the vault that Lucy was stationed in the first episode. They go back to it many times throughout the show, and you got all of these different vault dwellers with their particular personalities. So I really do like our surrounding cast here. I think Amazon Prime series, they're usually pretty good about getting a cast together that has a lot of chemistry and a lot of good synergy, and so I think that they just really nailed that with this new Fallout show. Positive that I have is I really like how they just went all out with the gore and the blood and the guts, and I'm probably foolish for thinking that they weren't going to do that. For some reason, I thought maybe they were going to be like kind of more open to more audiences, pushing that TV mature rating, but no, they go full out in this show, which does probably make sense in retrospect with shows like The Boys and Invincible that are definitely not for younger audiences. So I really do appreciate that they did it in here, because it's very, very fitting for something like Fallout, where you just have limbs flying off and getting shot off and just blood and guts going everywhere. Just really made for a lot of really, really fun battle sequences throughout this first season. And just reminded me of when you're messing around with VATS and you're just shooting limbs off and they're going flying and stuff like that. And it was really just made for the battle sequences being kind of comedic, but also quite horrifying at the same time. So I thought it was just a lot of fun with that, and I'm glad that they just went all out that way. And the final positive that I can think of off of the top of my head, at least a main positive that I have, is I really love what they dig into as far as the lore in this show. They dig into a lot of stuff that we don't really get into in the video games very much, particularly with the pre-war and what happened before the bombs dropped, and what were the influences on that happening and whatnot. And they did it in a way that also developed our character of the Ghoul, played by Walton Goggins, obviously. And so I just really appreciated how they do that. I think that definitely the standout episode for me, and probably my personal favorite episode, was, I believe it was called The Trap. And that is the one where they really dig into a lot of this pre-war stuff. And I just found it very, very interesting, because we don't really, the video games don't really dig into that a whole lot. And so it was just really nice to see the show kind of expand on that, while not adding any information that is like false or anything like that. So I think that they just did a really, really good job with that, and I'm glad that they digged into some very, very interesting lore into the show, because what I went into this show for was not necessarily for the blood and the gore and the kills and all that kind of stuff, but a really, really good drama about a post-apocalyptic world, but also a pre-apocalyptic world on what led up to that and whatnot. And so I think they just did a really, really good job with that, and also doing that as a way to develop our character of Walton Goggins. Moving on to the mix category, and there's sort of a flip side to a lot of these positives, unfortunately, where there's some things that I really like about that particular thing, and there's some things that I don't like about that particular thing. And so the first thing is, when it comes to the character of Maximus, while I don't dislike the character or the actor, I don't think he's a bad actor or anything like that, what they've done with his character so far and how they've written him in this first season, I haven't really been liking too much. And it's just like they've made him so, it feels like they've intentionally made him selfish, and that's why I have it in the mixed category, because maybe this is going to be some kind of character development going into the future. It seems like they were starting to lean on that towards the finale, but they never fully drawn it out or anything. So this is just something that I'm going to have to be able to see when the future seasons come, what my full thoughts are on it are going to be. That's why I put it in this mixed category. But so far, what they've done with him, I don't like how they've written him. I don't find his background story with the Brotherhood all that interesting. And it's not that the Brotherhood is uninteresting. It's a huge faction in the Fallout universe, and I really, really like in the games. I think it's interesting, like the lore around it and all that. I think it's really, really cool. And there's so much more, and that's why like it's kind of frustrating because there's so much more that they could do with this Maximus character because he's a part of this huge, huge faction. We could dig into all this stuff about him growing up on this military base and stuff like that. But they just haven't really dug into that yet, and I don't know if they will, so that's why it's sticking in the mixed category for me. But so far, I don't really like how they've written his character. Another mixed thing that I have, and this is just another thing where I'm just going to have to wait until the next season to figure out my full thoughts on this particular thing, but I'm not really sure about the twist ending yet. I'm sort of on the fence about it. On one hand, it gets me very excited on what they're going to do with the second season, but on the other hand, I'm not really sure if I like where they went with the twist ending here. And so I can't really get into any detail, but it's just going to be one of those things where I'm just going to have to wait until season 2 to flesh out my thoughts fully. But it does, on one hand, get me very excited, but on the other hand, I'm not really sure how I feel about that twist ending. I really hope that it does pay off in the future. So just one of those things where I'm just going to have to wait for it. Another thing that I have in the mixed category, since it's not necessarily the show's fault, is that it was very evident that they were filming on quite a limited budget. And for a franchise like Fallout, that is something that you definitely don't want. Where you want it to feel like you're in this vast world where there's all of these different places to explore with all these different people. But in this show, it doesn't really feel like that because we're going back to the same exact set pieces several times throughout the show, and just like it's just something that you don't want in a series like Fallout. Is all I'm saying. And I'm sure in the second season they'll have a collection of new set pieces that we will be in, and I'm sure that they were just trying to stick with this group of set pieces for this first season, and the next season they'll have a group of new set pieces. But for like all I'm saying is that in a series like Fallout, that is not something that you want. You don't want to have this limited number of locations. You want it to feel like you're in this vast open world and not like you're just filming on this plot of land where, oh, here's where the vault is, here's where the desert that we go back to 10 times is, here's where this train station where we meet up is. You know what I mean? Like, that's not something that you want for the Fallout universe, and it's something that just really, really stuck out to me in this show. But because it's not necessarily their fault that they're on a limited budget, it's definitely not easy to have as many locations as there is in the Fallout universe and then bring that into a TV show. So I completely understand that. It's also a TV show, so they don't know how much money they're going to make off of this. So I completely understand that, and I'm sure that in the second season they will have a collection of new set pieces that they will be exploring. But I just really wish that it didn't feel like we had all those boundaries in this show. Moving on to the negatives, and this sort of goes into what I just talked about, where for a good portion of this season, it feels like there's just so much meandering going on. And what I mean by that is you have your standout episodes in the show for sure. I really like episodes 1, 6, 7, and 8. But for those other 4 episodes, for half of the season, it doesn't feel like a progressive drama series. It feels like a sitcom, where at the ending of each episode, they say that they're going to do this certain thing. They're trying to be, they're trying to be that progressive drama series that I came to this show for, where they're saying that they're going to do a particular thing, but then they just keep repeating it at the ending of every episode and just keep postponing it until towards the ending of the season, where they finally remember that they're not a sitcom, they're a progressive drama series. And so it just feels like there's a lot of meandering going on in the first 4 and half of the season, and that sort of goes into the fact that they have a limited budget. They don't have too many set pieces to work off of, so they sort of have to slow things down a little, like dramatically slow things down in half of the season to sort of make it work, I guess you want to say. And so yeah, well, I certainly didn't come into the show for something like that, like a sitcom. I went in here for a progressive drama series that feels like how the video games play out. It's an RPG game. You're meeting this one person, you're finding out this new thing, and now you're moving to this new location, and it feels like you're working towards something, to this ultimate thing that you're trying to figure out, or you're trying to accomplish. And in this show, they do get to that eventually, but it's like they keep postponing at the ending of several episodes this particular thing that they're working towards. And so I just didn't like how they dealt with the pacing in this show, and I think that had they had a bigger budget, maybe that would have helped with it in some ways. But I think either way, this could have been something that they fixed to be a lot better, because I didn't like how half of the season felt like a sitcom. My second negative sort of follows up on my first one, where there are certainly parts of the show that I love a lot more than others, and I wish they would have spent time on those other parts instead of, for example, they spend a lot of time going back to the original vault that Lucy came out of and telling us what's going on in the vault currently. And while I think that there's a little bit of payoff that they had towards the ending of the show, I just don't think it warranted spending as much time as they did on going back and telling us what was going on with the vault or whatever. So there's definitely parts of the show that I enjoyed a lot more, and I just really wish that they wouldn't try to balance out all those different parts. I wish that they would have favored certain parts that I liked more, and I'm sure other people probably enjoyed a lot more, and they definitely should have been spending a lot more time on. That being said, though, that's all I have for the new Fallout series. I know that it sounded like I was being pretty critical about it towards the ending there, but that's only because this is a show about one of my most favorite video game franchises of all time. So I'm going to be very, very highly critical. But either way, I still really, really had a very fun time with this show. Even though some episodes were definitely not as great as others, I definitely enjoyed some significantly more than the other episodes. I'm still very excited to see where they're going to go moving forward, and I think Amazon Prime once again released another banger. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I really hope that in the future seasons they don't just drop all 8 episodes right away. I really hope that they do one episode a week, or one episode after every several days, because I think that's how a show like this should be played out, to further draw out that excitement. I'm obviously, when future seasons come, expect a review for it, and hopefully it'll be out much sooner. But either way, I really, really dug this show. So what would I give it out of 10? Feeling pretty generous today, and despite my heavy criticisms towards the end there, I'm going to give the new Fallout show an 8.5 out of 10. I think for what they were able to do with a franchise as big as this in an 8-episode season, with the budget that they had, they did probably the best that they possibly could do. So I really appreciate Amazon Prime for being able to do that, and I really am excited to see what they're going to do in future seasons. So that's all I have for the new Fallout show. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below if you watched it. Otherwise, that's all I got. Stay tuned for the future movie reviews, and I think that's all I got. So like and subscribe, guys, and I will see you next time.